Hey everybody, J.R. Fisher here. Want to say good morning to you. We're going to have a great session today. I've got some really cool stuff lined up for you. And I appreciate you being on this live broadcast. I want you to make use of this chat. I have a iPad right here and I can talk back to you. I may just verbally talk back to you. But if you're live on here, why not introduce yourself, say who you are. Today is a really cool session. I'm going to provide you guys with a quiz that you can take. And it's all about the imposter syndrome. And we're going to talk about that today. And I'm also going to talk to you about an illness that I got, that one that hit the whole world. I want to talk to you about that. But I want you to feel confident that you can ask any questions you want. You can put any, suggestions, just be part of it. Tell me where you're at, where you're coming from. I know we're live on YouTube, but Facebook, I don't know if it's working on there. I got an error message on my screen, so who knows if that's working, but that's okay. Hey, I'm loving being back live with you guys. I'm going to do more and more of it. I promised I would start a cooking channel, and I'm going to start that very soon. I know I keep saying that. I've got no excuses right now, okay, because I'm healthy now. But I do want to talk to you about that. I got that virus that was going around the world, and I want to share that with you real quick and what happened. I got sick, I guess, at the end of September. I was in Cleveland, Ohio. My son was in the hospital. I went there to see him because he was in bad shape. They had botched an operation, a simple operation, and it made it a whole lot worse. And he ended up having 2 more operations while I was there. And now that I think back on it, it's just really horrendous what he went through. And all the pain he had to go through because a doctor didn't do her job properly. But that's neither here nor there. I wasn't feeling well, and I left there on the 28th of September. And when I left there, I flew back to Austin, Texas. I live in Georgetown, which is just north of Austin, Texas. And I wasn't feeling well. I mean, I didn't have an appetite. I felt kind of hot and kind of cold and just didn't feel right. And I got back on the 28th, and the 29th, I got worse. And by the 30th, I felt horrible. And I thought I had the flu. I thought I had the flu, something like that. And so my wife took me to the emergency room, and I was just shivering. Well, we first went to a clinic, and they took my temperature, and they said, you need to go to the ER to get checked for COVID. And I probably shouldn't have said that word because I'll get demonetized or something, but I do want to share with you what I had. And I went to the hospital, and I was in the ER. And when I was in the ER, they gave me the test for the flu, but they also tested me for COVID. And they came back after about 2 hours of sitting there. I was very uncomfortable. And they said, you have a fever of about 102. Yeah, you don't have the flu, you do have COVID. So, I didn't have any breathing difficulties, but I felt really awful. And they sent me home, and my fever started to spike. My fever went up to 104.5, which was miserable. I got to tell you, it really was miserable. I had zero appetite. I couldn't eat any food whatsoever. But I took some Tylenol. After about 2 weeks of this, I started to feel better. I started to feel better again. I started to feel like myself again, and I got through it. And I was very grateful. I was very grateful that I got through it. And about a week later, a friend of mine from, 30 some odd years ago, sent me a message, and he said, I have a family member that's ill. How long did it take you to get over, what you had? And I said, well, it was a couple weeks or something like that. And he says, he finally said, my son's in the hospital with the same thing. And his son is 40 years old. And this was probably, like a week after. So I'm thinking the first week of October. And his son was in the hospital, and he was getting progressively worse. What is this now? This is November. And this was the first week of October. He got progressively worse and worse and worse. They ended up saying his O2 was low. So they put him on a ventilator about a month ago, I would say, something like that. And then they said at this one hospital that he was at that they couldn't help him anymore. They needed to send him to another hospital. So they flew him to another hospital. They were going to put him on an ECMO machine, which you can look that up. but basically it cleanses your blood and oxygenates it again. And they said he wasn't a good candidate, and his kidneys started to fail. And as of 2 days ago, he's passed away. And it's a very sad story. And I want to share it with you guys because you don't really have control over what's going to happen in your life. The only thing you can really control is how you react to things, both physically and mentally. That's it. That's all you can really do. And I'm going to talk to you today about imposter syndrome. And it's a syndrome that actually 70% of the population have. So if you're in a room of 10 people, there's 7 people in that room going through this. And I'm also going to provide you with a test that you can take. It's totally anonymous because all you do is you go to a page and you download it and you take it in the privacy of your own home. So it's not online or anything like that. You don't have to worry about that. But it'll let you know what's going on in your brain a little bit. And I want to talk to you about the syndrome, what it is, why it affects us, all that good stuff. So we can kind of, zero in on it, and see, do I have this thing? Is it causing me trouble in my life? Do you ever kind of feel like you're a sheep in wolf's clothing? And what I mean by that is, a sheep in wolf's clothing is like you appear to be strong-willed, you appear to be powerful, you appear to be very independent, but on the inside, you kind of feel weak. On the inside, you feel unsure. On the inside, you feel scared, but nobody around you really knows that. They don't see that. You kind of have this feeling of, am I good enough? You have a lot of self-doubt, a nagging feeling that, maybe you're a fraud. Maybe all the things you've done really don't matter. And that is really descriptive of what imposter syndrome is. And it's something that can really hinder you if you don't get a grasp on it. According to a study, as a matter of fact, in the International Journal of Behavioral Science, 70% of the population has this. The term itself was actually first coined in the 70s by psychologist Dr. Suzanne Imes, and those are the ones that did the test I'm going to give you, and Dr. Pauline Rose Clance. And it refers to really, it affects more high achieving people than it does anybody else, people who have achieved a whole lot. People who exhibit imposter syndrome remain convinced that their own success and achievement are attributed to luck and timing, because they were able to fool others into thinking that they're smarter and more competent than they actually are. I've been through it myself. I've been on stage and I've been talking to groups of people, a couple hundred people at a time sometimes. And I'm thinking, why would they want to listen to me? I mean, why me? I don't know anything. You kind of get that feeling. And I think we are all affected by this a little bit. But I also want to go over some of the top people, very famous people that struggle with the same thing, to kind of share with you, if you're feeling this way, if you're feeling insecure, that there's other people that feel the same way. And I also want to, I want to let you know that feeling this way will prevent you from doing a lot of the things that you could accomplish. Thinking that you're not good enough, or that, you don't do well enough. It's really going to stop you from getting a lot of the places you want in life. And one thing I forgot to ask you to do, please do me a favor and subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to turn on, wait a second, hang on. Is the bell in the picture now? Yes. Turn on all bell notifications so you're notified each and every time I go live. Okay, I got to get my commercial out of the way, but that's pretty important stuff. I guess the bell needs to be here to show up well. I just saw it on my screen over here. Okay, so there's other factors that lead to fueling the sense of being a fraud, and how you feel different from everybody else, and how you feel different from your peers. It could be your appearance, it could be your gender, it could be your sexual orientation, it could be your race, it could be any defining characteristics. As a matter of fact, they say millennials are than any actually be a crippling type thing. Now, this syndrome is not listed in any like that, but it exists. Why they don't, I don't know, but it's a thing. Okay. It could be how you were brought up. It could be, maybe you had a parent who would tell you how lousy you are, and the next moment they would tell you how great you are, and it was confusing to you. I know I had a parent like that. While some people may see adaptability as a good trait to possess, it can also make others feel like they aren't equipped to deal with life and deal with stuff. One attribute that commonly occurs in high achieving people and often accompanies imposter syndrome or is perfectionism. We think we're perfectionists, okay? And if you're a perfectionist, you are probably suffering from imposter syndrome. And perfection really is unachievable. We all know this. I mean, deep down inside, we know that, we can't be a perfectionist. We can't do things perfectly. We're going to make mistakes. We're humans, okay? And I mean, life doesn't always happen fairly. I just told you the story about, my illness and my friend's son. And he was considerably younger than me. He had 2 daughters and a wife, and he passed away. And that seems terribly unfair. But the reason I share that story with you is that you're still here. Okay, you're still here. So since you're still here, you want to be able to do all the things you want to do. Okay, this perfectionism thing is a crippling thing, and it'll manifest itself a couple different ways. You will way over prepare for everything and waste tons of time, or you will procrastinate, not do anything because you're afraid you're going to do it wrong. So perfectionism is not an admirable trait. It really isn't. A lot of people say, well, I'm a perfectionist, and they say it with such pride. And I'm thinking to myself, no, you're a procrastinator, or you're just wasting time. Okay, that's what perfectionism really means. Criticism, failure, and mistakes seem to be the only thing that people with imposter syndrome really dwell upon. Okay, they dwell on all the negative stuff. This trait often translates into a deep running fear of a person's failure. Being exposed can limit your chance to really explore and take a leap of faith and try a lot of things you want to try. Let me get a sip here real quick. And guys, put whatever comments you want in that chat section there. I'd love to hear from you. And I know some of you may be, watching this and it's not live. It was a recording, but put your comments below if that's the case, and I'll come back and answer you. That's some good tea. I don't drink coffee; it tears up my stomach, but that's some good tea. So another great reflective tool that many people use includes, to really get you out of the syndrome, it includes making a list of your successes, accomplishments, all your positive experiences, where they stood out or where you felt like you truly deserve accolades that you achieved. I know a lot of times, people will say, well, I just happen to be in the right place at the right time. I don't really deserve this. And I'm going to go through some of these famous people and what they were thinking, because it's pretty darn interesting. In the name of cutting out the isolation that comes with the infamous imposter syndrome, I'm going to go through a list of highly successful individuals and their respective fields who at some point have or still experience these crippling insecurities. Let's start off by a guy named Albert Einstein. Even a man like Einstein's caliber and genius was not immune to feeling like a fraud. Perhaps one of the most influential scientists of the last 500 years. Albert Einstein was known to have faced imposter syndrome later on in life. He was once quoted as saying, and I'm going to read this quote here, I don't want to get it wrong: "The exaggerated esteem in which my life work is held makes me very ill at ease. I feel compelled to think of myself as an involuntary swindler." So he didn't even think highly of himself. It's really kind of weird. I want to take another example, Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou, list of achievements is one that can hardly be replicated by somebody else. She was a poet. She did civil rights. She was a memoirist. She was an actor. She was a director, producer. She even authored and published 7 autobiographies, 3 books of essays, countless books on poetry, and an extremely impressive literary career, wherein she actually was credited with writing a long list of plays, movies, television, screenplays. She did all these things, all the while facing her own personal hardships. Now, a woman of such substance and ability, yet Maya Angelou was once quoted as saying, and I will read the quote here: "I have written 11 books, but each time I think, uh-oh, they're going to find out now. I've run a game on everybody and they're going to find me out. That's how she felt about herself. It's craziness, right? Another guy you've probably heard of, John Steinbeck, another brilliant actor. Steinbeck was the winner of two of the most prestigious awards in the world, the 1962 Nobel Prize in Literature and the Pulitzer Prize for his famous work, The Grapes of Wrath. Not only, okay, are his literary works inspiring generations, after his death, his books are also being adapted into movies. Namely the one in 2016, which is In Dubious Battle, which starred James Franco and Selena Gomez. And contrary to contrary to how successful others thought he was, Steinbeck wrote in his journal, this is what he wrote to himself: "I am not a writer. I've been fooling myself and other people." John Steinbeck. What? Okay, so it's not just you guys if you're struggling with this. Sheryl Sandberg. Now, you may on the surface may not know who Sheryl Sandberg is, but you will in just a second. She was the first woman to serve on Facebook's board of directors. She actually had been linked to other impressive organizations. In the past, she had also been the vice president of global online sales and operations at Google, and had an active role in launching Google.org, which is the company's philanthropic vertical. Her long list of achievements further includes serving on the United States Secretary of Treasury, Chief of Staff, and being named in the Times 100 Most Influential People in the World list. And she also established the Lenin Foundation and became an author. She's said to be worth over $1 billion, thanks to her stocks in Facebook. Okay, that was a good investment. And several other profitable companies. Even after achieving that, she said, "There are still days when I wake up feeling like a fraud, not sure I should be where I am." Okay, even her at that stature. And I will pull out an actress here that we all probably know, Meryl Streep. She was probably hailed as one of the best actresses of her generation. And she was really famous for her ability to adapt to different accents and her versatility in all these roles. Streep is said to be one of the only 6 actors who had won 3+ competitive Oscars for acting and 20 nominations. Okay. She had 30 Golden Globe nominations, which she won 8. Okay. So that's pretty big accomplishment. Now, she was awarded the National Medal of Arts in 2010 and the President's Medal of Freedom in 2014 by President Obama. And she's managed to secure accolades and fame internationally too, wherein the government of France made her the Commander of Orders of Arts and Letters in 2003. Even after breaking all these records and winning the highest and most prestigious awards possible across the globe, Meryl Streep still has been quoted as saying, this is her quote, "You think? Why would anyone want to see me in a movie? And I don't know how to act anyhow. So why am I doing this?" That's what Meryl Streep said. Guys, if you're feeling a little uncomfortable in your own skin, look at all these people. I'm going to share with you a few more and show you what you can do about it. Tina Fey, who I love. I think she's awesome. A female comedian. I mean, to make it in our sexism society is pretty tough anyhow, but Tina Fey has truly carved out a niche for herself while silencing anybody who was a critic. She is an actor. She's a writer. She's a comedian. She's a producer. She's won 9 Primetime Emmy Awards, 2 Golden Globe Awards, 5 Screen Actors Guild Awards, 4 Writers Guild of America Awards. And throughout her career so far, she's been awarded the Associated Press Entertainer of the Year in 2008. Furthermore, she surpassed any remaining glass ceilings that she was awarded the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor in 2010. Okay, so that was making her the youngest recipient of that award ever. She talks candidly about her encounter with imposter syndrome. And here's a quote from Tina Fey. "The beauty of imposter syndrome is you vacillate between extreme egomania and a complete feeling of I'm a fraud. Oh God, they're on to me. I'm a fraud. So you just try to ride the egomania when it comes and enjoy it, and then slide through the idea of fraud. That's what Tina Fey had to say. Okay, so if you're feeling this way, guys, if you're feeling this way, it's something that so many people feel. Sheryl Strand, she was an incredible woman. She had a really tough past. Her mother died of lung cancer, and she took to heroin to deal with it. She took heroin, okay? This eventually led to the end of her first marriage. Strand's, and I know you don't know her yet, I'm gonna tell you who she is. Strand's journey to self-healing and self-discovery led her to hike solo along the 1,100 long Pacific Coast Trail without any proper knowledge or experience of hiking at the age of 26. She was able to capture the parallel narratives of the experiences during the hike and her personal challenges in life in the book. She wrote a book on this. She is a memoirist, she's an essayist, she's a podcast host, and she's an author of 5 best-selling books. Even though she was triumphant in the face of adversity and difficult situations that got her through by herself, nobody helped her, okay? She was also dealing with imposter syndrome. Here's what she wrote. Writing is always full of self-doubt, but the first book, Torch, is really full of self-doubt, and it was much more of a struggle to keep faith. By the time I wrote Wild, I was familiar with that feeling of doubt and self-loathing, so I just thought, okay, this is how it feels to write a book. Okay, so she was messed up, okay? I could go through a list. I'll give you a couple more. Emma Watson, she's an actor, model, activist, with a net worth of $70 million. At the age of 27, she had accomplished that. Her accomplishments include graduating from Brown University with a bachelor's degree in English literature, all the while handling a professor acting career as well. Okay. The British Academy of Film and Television Arts honored Watson with the British Artist of the Year title in 2014. And in the same year, she was appointed as a UN Woman Goodwill Ambassador. With her role at the UN, Watson launched the He for She campaign that actively encourages men to take up the role of gender equality advocates. Reaching such heights of success at such a young age sometimes made her feel like an imposter, because here's what she had to say. When I was younger, I just did it. I just acted. It was just there. So now when I receive recognition for my acting, I feel incredibly uncomfortable. I tend to turn in on myself. I feel like an imposter. It was just something I did. Okay. Now there's a great story here, and I want to find my notes here. I have a couple other people. What time is it? We're getting a little bit long on time. So let me look at, here's how to know if you have imposter syndrome. Okay. I want you to think of these things, and then I'm going to give you the link for the quiz. It's going to be in the description of this video. So if you look in the description, you're going to find the link. But if you have a marginally higher level of stress than most people do, if you get anxiety over the smallest things, if you procrastination that leads to even more anxiety, if you're constantly living in the fear of someone finding out about the lack of experience or skills, if you feel like you don't belong, always either understating or completely disclaiming your achievements and experiences. Do you shy away from asking for a raise because they feel that somebody else may deserve it more than them? Are you in that boat? Not applying for jobs, extreme nervousness, over preparing for tasks. Excuse me, I may sneeze. It's live. What are you going to do? Looking for perfectionism in everything you do. These are all traits of this. These are all traits of this, guys. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. Okay, that's what that really is. Now, let's take a moment here, and I want to talk, and I want to find my story here. Where is my story? I got a bunch of notes here on my screen. Okay, so there was this guy. He's a pretty famous podcaster, and he got invited to a group of super achieving people, big room of super achieving people. And he sees a guy in the hallway, And he starts to talk to the guy in the hallway. And he says to him, why are you standing out here? He says, well, because I don't belong in that room. And he says, well, you were invited. He says, I know, but I just don't belong in the room. He goes, why do you feel that way? He says, well, all those people in that room really accomplished something. He says, me, I was just there. And it turns out it was the first man to set foot on the moon, Buzz Aldrin. And you think about that, you know, in his mind, he had forgotten about all the training, all the work, all the physical stuff, all the book smarts, you know, all the tests he's passed and all that. He just thought, you know, he would just happen to be there. He just happened to be there. So it's incredibly enlightening if you look at this, guys, and you see what's going on in your head and other people's heads. And if you feel like this, put something in the comments. I will, you know, I'll tell you, I felt like this many times. Put your comments in there. Say, hey, yeah, I felt the same way before. It's nice to know that other people feel the same way. And it truly is, guys. You know, that we go through so much of life and we're just always worried about things. We're always concerned about things. And we're not really just enjoying ourselves, right? And I think back to the friend of mine whose son passed away. And for some reason, you know, I was talking to my wife the other night, I was saying, for some reason I lived and he died. We had the same thing, okay? I got sick, I didn't feel good. Well, what was me? But he died. He had 2 little girls, he had a wife. You know, if you say, well, life, you know, has got to be fair and, you know, that guy should live and you should have died because your kids are raised and all this. But the fact remains is for some reason I'm here, okay? It may be to talk to you today. It may be so that I could share this message with you today. It may be, and I know I normally talk about making money online, but it's not just about making money online. You got to get your head right first. If you don't have your head right, you're never going to make money online. You're never going to be successful. You've got to understand that you're here for a reason. You don't know what it is, but you got to keep trying. You got to keep trying all these things, and don't let this perfectionism or this imposter syndrome prevent you from trying stuff that you know you probably should try. You know, at the end of your life, you're not going to look back and say, man, I wish I had more money in the bank right now. You're not going to care about the money in the bank, okay? You're going to care about what you did. The only thing you're going to do at the end of life, I think, is look at all the regrets, all the things you didn't do, okay? All the things you wanted to do that you couldn't do. I think that's what's really going to happen at the end of life. I really do believe that. So if you want to take the test, look in the description of this video. There's a link there. All you got to do is click on the link. It'll take you. You download the test, and you can take it, and you can see where you stand on there. This test was devised by these psychologists who actually coined the phrase imposter syndrome. So it's a really good test. I think it's very informative. I took it myself. I won't give you my score, but yeah, I got imposter syndrome. So a lot of us do it. If you have it, you know, you can work on it. You can Google things that, you know, and I don't want to get into a whole lot of details. I could talk for 2 hours on what you could do about it. But the first thing I think we all got to realize, and that's why I shared the story with you, is you're alive. You're here for a reason. Don't not do things because you're scared, you know, that it won't work out, or you think that you aren't deserving or whatever. Do whatever you want to do. I mean, do whatever you want to do. If you don't do these things, guys, if you don't do these things, you're going to regret it later on. I promise you, you're going to regret it later on. So make sure you do it. I really appreciate you guys being here today. If you enjoyed this and you got something out of it, do me a favor, put something in the comment section. Love talking to you guys. I'm going to be going live a whole lot more. I know I missed a little bit. I had some illnesses. I moved, blah, blah, blah. They're all excuses. I'm not going to use them. Bottom line is I need to go live more with you guys and spend more time with you and help you. I'm here to help you in your business. This channel is all about starting, running, and growing online businesses, marketing online, making money online. That's all I'm about, and that's all I want to help you with. Thank you so much for being here, guys. I really do appreciate it. Like I said, give me a thumbs up if you don't mind. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget, ring the bell, turn on all bell notifications so you're notified each and every time I go live. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget, grab that quiz, that test, whatever you want to call it. It's in the description. I'll talk to you later.